Greetings, human! Welcome to a tech talk on Kibana Plugin Development. What is Kibana? Kibana is part of the Elk stack. What is that Elk stack? That would be Elasticsearch, Logstash, Kibana. So these are the three components that compose the Elk stack. We will be focusing our efforts within Kibana. And we can view Logstash as the ETL and Elasticsearch as a search engine and Kibana to visualize data. Here is a sample dashboard of Kibana, and here are a few visualizations that we can use for Kibana. But what if you want to create your own visualization? We'll need to dive into code and develop our own plugin, which will be a visualization for Kibana. And so the first thing we want to do is to create a directory of the plugin. And there we go, we'll call it new plugin. And we'll go into the directory. And then we will need the files package.json, which is the npm package it's a node package for the plugin. And then we'll need an index file for the backend node that's going to be executed. We'll need a public folder so that the public files will be stored there. And now, what we will do is we will start with the package.json. So what we do is we define the name of the package to be SDK in this case, which will be a software development kit, which is the plugin. It's important to use the version that matches your Kibana and Elasticsearch version. So at this moment, the version is 5.4.3. And we'll also need, it's not required, but you can add dependencies such as jQuery or Phantom browser or something like that. And that's what we need for now. And then next is modify the index.js file. This is the main backend file that's going to be used by Node. And there we go. So we export it within a function of Kibana that's going to be a parameter for our plugin. So we use Kibana.plugin, and then we create a function that's going to be returned by the main index.js file. So the main index.js file will return the plugin. And what we design within is that we'll need an ID for the plugin. We'll need, we'll require some modules for Kibana, for example, and Elasticsearch, just so we're safe and we know that these are loaded. We can then interact with them. We'll also need a viz type, which is UI export, UI export, and then within we will be using a viz type for, in this case, the plugin will be using, it's going to be a visualization plugin. There are about 4 or 5 UI exports at the moment. For now, we'll just use viz type. We might cover some more later on. Viz types will be returning the plugin. So if we look at the file there, it's plugin/SDK, which is our plugin. That's once deployed in the environment, and then /viz.js. It's there. The .js is optional, but it will be loading the .viz. So viz will be the public JS for the visualization. Now let's go into public folder. So once we are in a public folder, we will need a controller, and we will be needing the main file that's going to be called via the backend to the front end, which is viz.js. And then we'll need a view for when we set up the parameters of the visualization, and we'll also need the main view of the visualization. So these are the files we need. And now we'll start off by writing the controller. So we define a function with require parameter so that we have required modules before our SDK module starts. And there we go. And we have a variable that will declare as a module that require UI modules. And then, so we'll be using the UI modules, and from the UI modules, we will be using Kibana / SDK. So this is our module, Kibana SDK. And there we go. And we'll also require Kibana to run, and that's it. And then within, okay, so we'll tell the module to register a controller with Angular as the SDK controller, and its function should return, well, it has for parameters scope, element, and then we go in the controller, and within the controller we'll try a field that's going to be called myField, and then within that we will be checking the response from the watch modules for ES response. So what this does is once you have the parameters that are being changed in Angular, then we will be modifying the value that's going to be appended. Well, it's going to be triggered by the controller. So we watch the expression. Once the expression changes, then we'll set the field again and go from there. And there we go. So if there is no response, then the field is equal to null. If there is a response, then we go for it. And then the next, there's viz that we should be doing right now. There we go. So if we edit our viz.js, which is a main public file, it's a little lengthy, so we'll go through a little quicker. So we require the styles of the SDK. You can include any CSS files you want, and we can require the controller as we need the controller to render the one that we've just typed, and we'll register into viz types the SDK controller so that it is registered within the visualizations module. And then the SDK provider will be using the template of viz type, and then we'll go from there. There we go. And then we return the template viz type. So there we go. And we will call it with a name SDK, a title SDK, and then a description of sample plugin, and optionally an icon for the SDK. It's using the font awesome icons, and the template, which is SDK view.html. So we'll be using our view.html, and there we go. Default pattern for my field will be hello human. Default value for my field will be hello human, and we'll use an editor, which is params.html, to edit the values of our SDK plugin. And there we go. So we're almost there. The only thing missing is to return the SDK provider to the controller. And there we go. And now we will be going and verifying our files. We got the controller. Everything is good there. We got the visualization public module that's in place. Everything is good there as well. And we have the params here, .html. Everything is good. And then we will be doing the params.html. So params.html. So we need a front-end file, basically, that will give us the fields to edit. So for example, in this case, we will be using an input of type text that will be controlled by an ng controller of SDK controller, and then this will be the one that we've declared above in the this will be the one that we've declared before in the JavaScript, and then which will be rendered in the front end with this. So we give it a small title of text input and render the box of input, and it will have a model of viz.params dot myField, which is the field that we've discussed before. So as soon as this changes in params and it's been submitted, then it will change. The controller will be triggered and will render the view with the params. So we'll define the view here, and there we go. So we're defining the view. We are just rendering a small title, and we'll say field output, and we have the value that we can display with an ng bind of HTML of what the field is. And the field is viz.params.myField. There we go. So we have everything we need to render the field. Now, what's next? So we have a controller, we have a visualization, we have a parameter, we have our view, we have a controller. So let's go into the controller. It seems like we're missing a few things here. So let's do a bit of house cleaning. There's the RASP parameter that was missing, and the parenthesis and semicolons. Okay, and so the controller looks good, and then parameters is good as well. View is good as well. And then if we look at the visualization, oh, it seems like there's a few things missing here. So, yeah, it's just wiggly bracket that needs to be added before the return statement. There we go. And it seems like we're good to go. The index file looks good. And then package, oh, that's the main thing we need. The main thing we need
humiliation
to declare the main file, which is index.js. So we'll visualize what we have built so far. But before we do that, we'll use a deploy script that I've written. I won't rewrite it again, but it uses two arguments, which is the Kibana path and the the SDK location. So the kill-all node is to shut down Kibana and restart Kibana. The Kibana plugin, this will create a zip file basically and install the zip file into Kibana and restart Kibana. So we'll deploy the application using sudo deploy.sh, and there we go, just so that there is no conflict between the environments. The caching browser bundles will take a lot of time, but I've fast forwarded a bit the process. Now we have the dashboard here. We'll just create a visualization, which we just built, onto the dashboard. And there we go, visualization type SDK. And we just take the parameter within the text input. It's saying hello human. We'll say hello machine. And there we go. We save it. And boom, in the field output, we have hello machine. And that's it.